Hello all, welcome to yet another live session of Narayana IAS Academy. As all of you know, this is Sureka Bhaskar presenting to you the daily news analysis, and of course for today's discussion we've picked up few of most important topics from the reputed dailies of the Hindu as well as the Indian Express that become extremely important and relevant for the UPSC CSE examination. So let us actually begin our discussion with our daily ritual, that is starting the day off with motivation. So the motivation for the day here says courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. So it might look very complicated. So what is the basic crux of it is the basic virtue of courageousness that you actually have does not mean that you are a fearless person, but that simply means that you value the other principles, the other goals and the aspirations you have in life more significant. That is, you keep all those virtues at a higher pedestal compared to that of the fear that you actually feel from within. So only with that courageousness or that particular virtue can you be very consistent, can you be very persistent in your efforts, you can be productive, you can be efficient, as well as finally reach your goals. So courage does not simply mean that you are fearless, it just means that you're channelizing that fear into more productive aspirations in your life. Okay, so for us the aspiration here remains to crack this particular examination. So having said that, we will now look at look into the courses or the initiatives that the Narayana IAS Academy, that is we as a team, have actually brought forward in order to ease your preparation for the UPSC CSE examination. So first of all, we have our 1-year prelims cum mains integrated course for the 2026 examination, and we also have a 2-year prelims cum mains integrated course for the 2027 examination. Okay, so here the total instruction hours for the examination is around 1000, where 800 plus hours will actually be dedicated for your general studies as well as your CSAT lectures, followed by 200 exclusive hours for current affairs that will be taken up by our experienced current affairs faculty, who will actually bring to you the evolving news from all across the globe, so that you actually remain in touch with the most important concepts which you can actually link with your static and answer questions asked from different dimensions in your mains examination. So followed by that, we also provide you with the strategic micro schedule, which is nothing but it is a detailed daily study plan that will actually help you to prepare with ease without getting lost in the vast ocean of the UPSC CSE syllabus. And followed by that, we have our expert faculty who are experienced educators in these particular domains and who have also been appeared for the UPSC CSE interview stage, and they will actually be handling your classes. And followed by that, we have regular testing of your performances through the answer writing sessions, that is the mains answer writing, and also the test series that we actually conduct, post which we will give you a regular feedback, that is the feedback mechanisms will have the personalized feedback as well as mentoring that will actually enable you to assess your performance across different stages. Okay, so that will be able to self introspect your performance and analyze and enable you to prepare it further. Now moving forward, let us actually see what are all the different topics that have been picked up for today's discussion. So the first topic that has been picked up today has been from the first page of the Hindu. This is nothing but Uttarakhand adopts the Uniform Civil Code. So as the topic or the title says, here understanding about this particular concept of Uniform Civil Code becomes extremely important. So here we'll be discussing about what is Uniform Civil Code and how has been the chronology and the chronology. That means let's see how has been the historical evolution of this Uniform Civil Code, where geographically it actually evolved, and also we will be looking into what is the current status of Uniform Civil Code, whether Uttarakhand happens to be the only state that actually possesses it, or before that do we have any other state, whether it's post independence or pre independence is what we'll see. And also we will discuss about what are the arguments for adopting the Uniform Civil Code versus what are the arguments for not taking it. And finally, we'll be looking into certain judicial pronouncements or the, judgments which are actually related to that of the uniform civil code, and finally we will see the way forward. Okay, so how better can be the adoption of uniform civil code and how not to be. So this is the first article. So here it is actually a mains based article where we'll have a detailed analysis. Followed by that, the second article has been picked up from the text and context page of the Hindu, that is the Guillain Barre Syndrome life threatening. So as you know, diseases per se become very important for your examination. Specifically in this Guillain Barre syndrome, you can actually see it is an autoimmune disease. So the terms like autoimmune disease, non-communicable diseases, communicable diseases, contagious diseases, all these become very important for your examination. How it is caused, what are the vectors, and whether it is actually caused by a parasite, fungi, bacteria, virus, etc. become very important. So here we'll be discussing about this particular syndrome. What are the causes of it? What are the risk factors associated with it? What are the implications it's going to have on the human physiology? And finally, we will see the symptoms and the treatment of this particular disease. Next, moving forward, we'll be looking at the third article which has been picked up from page number 10 of the Hindu. JPC rejects all the amendments of the Waqf bill made by the opposition. So here we need to basically understand what do you mean by Waqf. Okay, so after that, after understanding this particular term, we'll be discussing about the Waqf Act of 1995 and why there were certain amendments that was actually brought about to this particular act in the year 2000. Yeah, what was the amendments that were brought in 2024? What are the provisions of this particular amendment bill, whether it was actually taken up or accepted by the joint parliamentary committee? Why do the opposition actually have a problem in that? All that we will actually discuss here. Now moving forward, the last article for the day has been picked up from page number 12 of the Hindu. Expert panel clears the plan in order to rebuild the washed away Teesta Dam in Sikkim. This is called as the Teesta 3 Dam. It was actually recently washed away by the GLOF, that is the glacial lake outburst floods. So here we'll understand what is the concept of the glacial lake outburst floods, and also we look into the details of what is the Teesta river, the drainage area, location, origin, and the length of this particular river, the tributaries, etc. And finally, we'll be looking into the details of this particular dam. Okay, so having had a fair idea about what the topics of our discussion today, let us quickly start with our first article. Uttarakhand adopts uniform civil code. So as the topic suggests, here we'll be discussing about what do you mean by the uniform civil code, and it is a part of article 44 of the directive principles of state policy. So you need to know what are DPSPs and whether it is actually it aims to establish a welfare state or not, and whether if DPSP as well as the fundamental rights actually are opposing each other, which one actually prevails is what we need to understand. So this is important for both the prelims examination under polity and for mains under GS paper 2 polity and governance. Now moving forward, if you see, there has been a PYQ that was asked in the 2015 mains examination. Here it is asking about what are all the possible factors that is preventing India from enacting for its citizens a uniform civil code as mentioned under article 44 of DPSP. So this particular topic becomes very important for the examination. And now let us quickly start with the topic. So Uttarakhand, that is the state, one of the states in India, has actually rolled out the uniform civil code, and this actually makes Uttarakhand the first state in order to adopt a uniform civil code post independence, that is post 1947. So before this, has there been any state or union territory that actually had this? Yes, we have Goa that already has a UCC. Okay, so now let us see in detail what do you mean by uniform civil code. Okay, so before that we will see what are all the key highlights of the Uttarakhand uniform civil code. Uniform civil code is nothing but, right now if you see, personal laws with respect to marriages, divorce, inheritance of property, all this it is actually based on the spiritual as well as the customary practices of different religion. Okay, now they want to replace such personal laws that are driven by customary and religious practices by a unified code that will be applied to all the citizens of India uniformly. So that only is Uniform Civil Code. Okay. So now after Goa, now Uttarakhand has actually become the state in order to adopt this UCC, and what the provisions of Uttarakhand's UCC is what we will quickly see. So the Uttarakhand UCC will actually apply to all the residents of Uttarakhand, okay, except for the scheduled tribes as well as the natives who are migrated out of the state. And also it bans practices like halala, iddat as well as talaq. So what are these? These are actually practices under the Muslim law. So let me quickly tell you, what do you mean by halala? It is called as nikah halala, which actually means a woman who, that is a married woman who has actually been divorced, what happens, gets into marriage, or you can say a matrimonial alliance with another man, then consummates the marriage. After that, waits for the divorce, gets divorced and gets married to the first husband itself. So this is called as halala. So UCC bans such a practice because it actually has invited a number of criticism. After that, you have the iddat, that is the period of the woman actually waits under the Muslim law to get a divorce. And next one is talaq, the triple talaq, which is actually the divorce. Okay, here this ensures, that is banning all these things ensures that there is gender equality in marriage as well as inheritance laws, because inheritance wise there are different provisions, right, for women versus men. Now moving forward, this, that is the Uttarakhand UCC mandates online registration. What and all you should actually online, register online on ucc.uk.government.in. Over here you need to, register about your marriage, your divorce, your live-in relationship, etc. Now, moving forward, second one is online portal features. I told you, right, you need to go and register, and there's an online portal also where, Aadhaar based verifications of all the registrations is actually done. And also AI translated service is provided in 22 languages including English. Next one, there is integration of data from all over 13 government departments, that actually includes police, court, civic bodies, etc. And also there is a Tatkal facility, that is in case of emergency cases. What happens, there is the importance is given to certain registrations which are of utmost importance by charging you a nominal fee. And finally, you can, or the persons who actually use it can even upload a will, okay, by three means. That is, either they can actually upload an online form, or the will can actually be handwritten, that is after their device whom their properties and other assets will go to. Next, that can be a handwritten or a typed document, or they can also give a recorded video of it, which is actually up to 3 minutes. Okay, so these are the features of the online portal. And then if you see the mandates and the timelines, here the marriages that have actually taken place after 2010 have to be registered on the portal within 6 months. That is, from today, within 6 months they have to be registered. And the marriages after the UCC implementation have to be registered within 60 days. And your live-in relationships must actually be registered within 1 month. This actually resulted in a lot of criticisms. Okay, so you need to talk about it separately. And also, if the person actually is pregnant after living in relationship, such, the birth of such children actually have to be reported within 30 days of childbirth. And next one, the divorce registration actually have to contain all the comprehensive details, such as where your marriage got registered, what has been the court case number, the final order, details of the children who are born of the marriage, etc. Next one, there are also regulations that are given to the landlord. It says that landlords cannot deny permission to the live-in relationship couple in case they actually have a valid registration. Okay, so these are all the provisions under this UCC of Uttarakhand. Then if you see the administrative structure as well as the penalties, here the sub-registrars, the registrars and the register generals, they actually oversee the process in the urban and the rural areas, and the decisions on the application must be taken within 15 days or 3 days in emergency. And also in case of any rejections of registration that can be appealed to higher authority, and the resolution for this actually has to be given within 1 to 2 months, that is 30 to 60 days. What is the penalty in case if you don't comply with it? The violators will actually be given a warning followed by fines for repeated offenses. Okay, so these are all the basics of I was just making you very familiar with what are all the provisions that the Uniform Civil Code of Uttarakhand actually has. Now, very important, we need to understand what do you mean by Uniform Civil Code. As I told you, it is the replacement of personal laws which are actually driven by the spiritual or the religious or customary practices. So, it is replacement of these laws with a unified set of laws which are applicable uniformly to all the citizens, and they actually pertain to private matters like marriage, divorce, inheritance, adoption, maintenance, etc. What are the objectives? In order to have a single uniform code that applies uniformly across different religious communities, and also you need to have a standardized legal framework for personal matters such as marriage, adoption, inheritance, etc. So this is what is called as UCC. Now, it is important to understand, just a minute. Yeah. Now it is important to understand what is the chronology and how this particular UCC evolved over time. Okay. So the idea of UCC basically was influenced by similar codes that were drafted by the European countries during the 20th century. Then, if you actually see in 1804, what happened is that there was this French code of 1804 that eradicated all forms of customary as well as statutory laws, and they actually brought about by a uniform code. Then if you see in 1840, when there was the rule of this British East India Company, they actually came up, that is the first law commission under Lord Macaulay. It actually came up with the report in order to validate or see the feasibility of rolling out a uniform civil code, because the Islamic as well as the Hindu laws were actually different. So it did not match the secular fabric. So that was called as the Lex Loci report of 1840, that emphasized the importance and the necessity of uniformity and coordination of India law, but it recommended that the personal laws of Hindus as well as Muslims should be kept outside such codification. It said that there has to be a uniform codification of these laws. Okay. Moving on, if you see in 1941, we have the B.N. Rao Committee, which was formed in the year 1941 in order to codify the Hindu law. It recommended a codified Hindu law which would give equal rights to women as well. So this has actually been the origin of the Uniform Civil Code. Now moving forward, yeah. So now moving forward, let us actually see what does the Constitution say about the Uniform Civil Code. So Article 44 of the Directive Principles of State Policy, it actually states that the state shall endeavour to secure to all its citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India, is what the Constitution actually says. Now moving forward, let us see what is the current status of UCC in India. So after Uttarakhand, that is currently you have Uttarakhand rolling out the UCC. Before that, you had Goa, because this actually had the Portuguese Civil Code of 1867, which was applicable to all the people having their permanent residence, that is permanent legal residence, which is also called as the domicile in Goa. And also, apart from this UCC, what are all the other legislations which are in line with this UCC includes the amendments to the Hindu code bills. This actually provides uniformity in legal provisions to all the religions who are, that is basically to the Hindus and all the religions except for Muslims, Parsi, Jews as well as Christians. Okay. Next one, we have the Special Marriage Act of 1954, which provides form of civil marriages to any citizen irrespective of religion. Okay. Now, having looked into the current status, now we will see what are the debates around UCC for and against. So what are the arguments for having a uniform civil code? Is that it promotes unity by integrating different personal laws. Yes, because there will be no more Muslim law as well as Hindu law. Next one, it seeks to ensure fairness and equality under one family law. Next one, it simplifies the legal system for personal matters. Next one, it is recommended by Supreme Court itself. So what are the other arguments for it include? So other arguments is that it is enshrined, right, in the constitution. So one is enshrined under Article 44 of the constitution, keeps up with the secular fabric of India, that is not focusing only on one religion. Okay, so one similar code or one integrated code applying to the entire country. The next one actually includes fosters national unity. Also, it ensures gender justice. So these are all the arguments in favor of a UCC. Okay. So what are the arguments against it is that first one, this could conflict with the right of religious freedom that is mentioned under Article 25, which is a fundamental right. Okay. Next one, personal law diversity. It mirrors the India's democratic ethos because India is actually a unity in diversity, right? So personal laws with respect to very important matters like marriage, inheritance, etc. This cannot be integrated under a single law is what they are saying. Next one, it focuses on equal rights within the communities rather than across the community. So everybody within one particular community, be it Hindu or the Muslims, they are all treated equal. Okay. This is what the arguments against it. Next one, it is suggested to be adopted even on a voluntary basis by the framer or the drafting person of the constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So this is what it is actually saying. Next one, it is also said that it might disrupt with the federal nature of the Indian constitution. Okay, so these are all the debates around UCC, arguments for and arguments against it. Now, moving forward, let us see what does the judiciary had to say under Uniform Civil Code under different cases. So, first one, in 1985, there was this Shah Bano case, okay. In that case, the Supreme Court actually said that Parliament should outline the contours of a common civil code. What do you mean by outline the contour? Must actually bring out clear guidelines or framework in order to have a common civil code for national harmony and equality before law. What do you mean by equality before law? This is actually enshrined under Article 14 of the Constitution. There are two things, right? Equality before law and equal law. Equality before law is nothing but it is a British concept, and equal protection of law is an American concept, and India follows equality before law, where it actually says that all people are or are supposed to be treated equally. Okay, so this is what it is. Next one is Jordan Dendhe case, that is 1985. This actually called for reformation of law of marriages is needed via a uniform law, okay, irrespective of religion or caste. Moving on, there was the Sarla Mudgal case of 1995. This actually directed the Ministry of Law and Justice in order to reflect what are all the steps that have been taken by the government towards achieving a uniform civil code for the citizens of India. And finally, we have the John Vallamatom case of 2003, where it actually said a common civil code will actually help the cause of national integration by removing the contradictions based on different ideologies, that is basically based on different religion is what it actually said. Now, what is the way forward? UCC, that is Uniform Civil Code, is actually desirable because all the citizens can, it is better to administer when there is one single law for all the citizens of India. Okay, so UCC is desirable, but it should reflect the diversity. Okay, it should recognize the people of different faith and religion and should also ensure inclusivity. Also, it should accommodate various cultural practices. Okay, like diverse communities must actually feel represented and respected. It should promote unity and the coexistence of diverse traditions, and must not at the same time, it should not try to homogenize the entire culture, because the freedom of right to religion, to practice, profess, to establish your own educational institutions, all those things, or freedom from paying taxes, etc., are protected under Article 25 of the Constitution. Okay, freedom of religion. So this is what is actually told. Now, having discussed about UCC, let's move to the next article. Is the Guillain Barre Syndrome life-threatening? So here the syndrome is important under the topic of autoimmune diseases, and this is important for your prelims examination under general science. Okay. So now let us actually move forward and see a previous year question that was asked in the 2017 prelims examination with respect to that of Zika virus disease. So you need to know the disease, where it actually originated, the spread in the recent times, also what are the reasons for it, the causative agents, the vector, all those things you need to know. So having seen this, let's actually move and see what is this, why this particular article was in the news. So recently there has been outbreak of this Guillain Barre syndrome in Pune, and following this, that is almost 70 to 80 people have been affected. Following this, the Union Health Ministry has sent a team in order to assess the original situation over there. So now let us quickly move into understanding what this syndrome is all about. It is nothing but an autoimmune neurological disorder. So what do you mean by an autoimmune disease? Autoimmune disease is nothing but your immune system will mistakenly attack the healthy cells. It will attack the healthy cells thinking that they are invaders. Okay, so what if your healthy cells are actually affected? What happens? You will have deficiency, right? For example, in case of diabetes also, why do we say that diabetes, type 1 is called as an autoimmune disease? Because the, immune system actually affects the beta producing cells in the pancreas, thinking that these are the, invader cells. So that is why we call this particular condition as an autoimmune neurological disorder. Neurological means it actually deals with the nerve cells which are very, very important to carry the signals to and fro from the brains, okay, from the brain as well as the spinal cord, all these things. So it is a condition where the immune system mistakenly attacks the peripheral nerves. What do you mean by the peripheral nerves? The nervous system can be classified as the central nervous system as well as the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system includes the brain as well as the spinal cord, whereas your peripheral nervous system is the system outside the central nervous system, which is responsible for carrying the signals, okay, that signals to the brain, okay, without which what happens? You will have muscle weakness, and in severe cases you will also have the paralytic attack, okay. Now, so this is a condition that develops gradually over days or weeks, and it mainly affects individuals of any age, but majorly if you see, it affects the adults as well as the males. And then here the estimated incidence is around 1 to 2 cases are there per 1 lakh people. Now, moving forward, what is the effect that this particular syndrome has on the body? Of course, the body's immune system begins to attack its own cells, and the immune system mainly destroys the myelin sheath of the nerve cell. What do you mean by myelin sheath? So see, let me draw it over here. Think that this is a nerve cell. This is a nerve cell. Okay, so here you actually have so here this is actually called as the body, and this is your nucleus. These are called as your dendrites, and the entire length of the nerve cell is called as the axon. and these are called as the nerve terminal or nerve ending or axon terminal. And also, if you see throughout the body of the nerve cell, you actually have, a fatty layer. This is called as the myelin sheath. Okay, and then in that you have the Schwann cells. So these are all part of your biology. Okay, so you need to know in this Guillain Barre syndrome, what happens is that the immune system actually destroys this particular myelin sheath over here, which are nothing but it is a fatty layer that is wrapped around the cells. Okay, so that is called as the myelin sheath, which are like this. Okay, and these in between, this is called as the nodes of Ranvier. So if you are a biology student, you have to know all this. Okay, otherwise also you need to know for UPSC, because general science is there as a part of your syllabus. Now, this actually impacts the nerve's ability to send signals to the brain and causes weakness in the muscles, and it actually affects the peripheral nervous system that controls the movement of muscles, which will actually enable you to feel the temperature, touch, pain sensations, etc. So when the peripheral nervous system is actually attacked, then what happens? You will actually have weakness as well as paralysis in your body. Now moving forward, let us actually see. So this is actually the syndrome. Here, the immune system attacks the healthy nerves of the peripheral nervous system, and that's the nerves outside the central nervous system, that is brain and the spinal cord. And this actually helps the CNS to communicate with the rest of the body, including the skin, the heart, as well as the muscles. Okay, so this is your central nervous system, and this is your peripheral nervous system, where the entire communication to the body actually happens. Okay, so this is what it is. Autoimmune disorder. It mistakenly thinks that the body's own healthy cells are invaders, and it actually attacks it, and around 1 to 2% per 1 lakh persons are affected due to this Guillain Barre syndrome. Now moving forward, what are the causes and risk factors? Exact cause of this syndrome is exactly not known, but it is usually followed by a viral or a bacterial infection. So what does WHO say on that? Usually there is an infection with a bacteria that is called as the Campylobacter jejuni. Okay, so this is a bacteria that causes, the gastroenteritis. What do you mean by gastroenteritis? You have nausea, you have vomiting, you'll have severe diarrhea, etc. And that is actually a main trigger. And other infections or the triggers include the viral infections, such as one with influenza, then you have Epstein-Barr virus, the Zika virus, etc. And also vaccinations in certain cases become a trigger. It can become life-threatening, as it is actually affecting your peripheral nervous system, okay, which actually controls the blood pressure as well as the heart rate. Now moving forward, let's see what are the symptoms of this disease. The symptoms usually include, the pin pricking like sensations in your feet as well as legs, and gradually that is spread to the upper body, arms and face. And the common symptoms, that is, I told you, the needle sensation, the toes, fingers, ankles, etc. You'll have severe back pain, pain in the legs, and difficulty walking or climbing the stairs, and trouble with the facial movements, and you have double vision, that is, you'll have just split vision, such as those which you experience during your migraines, and this can, progress to paralysis of the legs, arms as well as the face. Now moving forward, severity. There is 1/3 of the patients may experience chest muscle involvement also, and this causes extreme difficulty in breathing. And in severe cases, here the person won't be able to speak nor would be able to swallow. Okay, so now moving forward, let us see what are the key treatment methods that are actually available in order to contain the same. The first one is actually the plasma exchange, which is called as the plasmapheresis. This is nothing but this removes that plasma which actually is attacked, okay, in order to eliminate the antibodies attacking the nerve. So removing and treating the plasma to eliminate the antibodies. Next one is intravenous immunoglobulin. This actually involves, injecting the proteins, which are nothing but the immunoglobulins, in order to reduce the immune system attack on the nerves. Finally, supportive care and rehabilitation. shall be given, but then again you can't say that a definite cure will actually be there. It is actually going to take a longer period of time. So now we are actually done with this particular article. Moving on to the third one, JPC rejects all the amendments. That is, Joint Parliamentary Committee has actually rejected all the amendments that have been made to this Waqf bill by the opposition. So here what is important for us to understand is about the Waqf properties, the Waqf Act of 1995, both important for prelims and the mains examination under GS paper 2, statutory, regulatory and various quasi-judicial bodies. Okay. So now let us quickly move into and see what is a previous year question. So there has been a previous year question in 2019 which spoke about the right to property in India. Why have I taken right to property? Because a Waqf is also considered as a voluntary giving away of a particular property for reasons that is actually considered religious, pious or very, very sacred under Muslim law. So this is what it is. Now let us quickly move and understand what this article is talking about. So this Waqf Amendment Bill, that is 2024, is currently under review by the Joint Parliamentary Committee, and this has actually generated a significant debate. Okay, let us see what is the Waqf all about. Okay, now moving forward, now the bill, that is this 2024 bill, this actually aims to modify the provisions of the Waqf Act of 1995. So here, since it's aiming to modify the Waqf Act or certain provisions of Waqf Act, what happens? Implication on the Waqf properties and their management is also getting affected. Okay, so implications are also getting affected. So now let us see, what do you mean by Waqf? Waqf is nothing but it is the permanent dedication of either movable or immovable property by a person. So when a person actually dedicates his or her own movable or immovable property to purposes that are considered to be pious, that is sacred, religious or charitable, for charity purposes. Okay, so religious means maintaining prayer grounds, construction of mosques, and then dedicated or support to the educational institutions, or serving the or as a charity to the needy. So for all these purposes, if a person actually gives away his or her own property for this purpose, that is what is called as Waqf. And the properties, ones which are identified as Waqf, cannot be reversed back to, what to say, it cannot be reversed back and taken back by the owner. So that is what it is. Okay, so now having understood this, let us see about Waqf properties. As per the Waqf Act of 1995, Waqf is nothing but it is an endowment, that is a permanent dedication of the movable or immovable property for the purposes, that can be a religious purpose or a charitable purpose under Muslim law. And once the property gets identified as Waqf, it becomes irrevocable, that is it cannot be turned back. And what are the purpose of Waqf properties? As I told you, it can be for the public good, like funding the mosque, supporting the schools, providing for the poor, for charity purposes, etc. Okay, so this is what it is. And assets which are actually donated to serve religious or charitable objectives are called as the Waqf properties. Okay, now we've understood what do you mean by Waqf, what do you mean by Waqf properties, and what are the purposes of it. So what do you mean, who manages it? Okay, who manages this is that the Waqf Act mandates that every state must actually have a Waqf board in order to oversee and manage the Waqf properties. And also there is a central Waqf council, which is an advisory body which coordinates and oversees the activities of the state Waqf boards. So you have a Waqf board that is established by a state, and then you have a central Waqf council that actually is an advisory body that oversees the action of these state boards. Now moving forward, let us see what are the key provisions of this particular bill and why it has been opposed, okay, or criticized by the opposition. The opposition says that the ruling party has actually brought about different key amendments to the original provisions of the Waqf Act 1995, which is in their favor. That is what the opposition is saying. Now, whatever changes the opposition has actually told, what happens? The Joint Parliamentary Committee is not accepting it. That is why it is in the news. Now, what are the key provisions? There is renaming of the act. That is, the Waqf Act of 1995 has been renamed to the United Waqf Management, Empowerment, Efficiency and Development Act of 1995. And also, if you see formation of the Waqf, it says that only individuals practicing Islam for at least 5 years can declare a Waqf, and the property being declared must be owned by the individual. They cannot, give someone else's property. You can't be a binami and all these things. Also, the practice of Waqf by user, that is declaration based on usage, is actually abolished. Then if you see this Waqf alal aulad, that is family Waqf, must respect the inheritance rights including those of women. So these are all the key provisions that are brought about by the amendment bill. Next, government property. Important point. It mainly says that the Waqf properties that are originally owned by the government will revert back to the government ownership itself. Also, the collector will determine the ownership in cases of uncertainty and update the revenue records accordingly. Also, there will be surveys that is conducted by the collectors under the state revenue laws instead of the survey commissioners. And also, we saw that Central Waqf Council, right, which will be overseeing the state Waqf boards. Here, it requires inclusion of at least 2 non-Muslim members. Also, other members like MPs, the former judges and eminent persons need not be Muslims. Next, Muslim organizations, scholars in Islamic law and chairpersons of the Waqf board must have Muslim representation, including at least 2 Muslim women. This is what the key provision of the Amendment Bill of 2024 is saying. Next one, with respect to Waqf board, it says that the state government may nominate non-Muslim members also, and representation shall be from other sects also, like the Shia and the Sunni, apart from the other communities, and also 2 Muslim women we saw. Next, Waqf tribunals. The tribunals, that is the disputes, will have a district the tribunals for Waqf disputes, this will have a district court judge. A district court judge will be the chairman, and an officer shall be in the rank of joint secretary, and expertise must be possessed by these experts in Muslim law, and this is no longer required. This is very, very important. So expertise in Muslim law is no longer required. Moving forward, the appeals. The decisions of the tribunal can be appealed to the High Court. So earlier, if the Waqf tribunal decides anything, it is not subject to any kind of appeal. They did not have the right, but now you can actually go to the High Court. Next one, central government powers. It authorized to create rules for the Waqf registration, the publication of accounts and auditing by the Controller and Auditor General or a designated officer. And also there will be a separate Waqf board, that is provisions for creating separate boards for the Agha Khani as well as the Bora sects, in addition to the already existing Sunni as well as the Shia boards. So now, having done with this, we will actually quickly move on to the next easy article, that is the last article for the day. Expert panel. It clears the plan to rebuild the washed away Teesta Dam in Sikkim. So here Teesta River is very, very important, and Teesta 3 Dam is very, very important. So this becomes very, very important for both your prelims and the mains under GS paper 3, conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, and EIA, disaster management as well. Okay. Now moving forward, there has been a UPSC CSE question in the mains in 2016 with respect to that of rehabilitation of the human settlements. Is an important environmental impact that actually always attracts controversy while planning major projects, and discuss the measures suggested for the mitigation of this impact while proposing major developmental projects. So developmental projects, and what are all the environmental impacts in terms of human rehabilitation with respect to the deforestation, then the soil degradation, all that becomes very, very important and is of a great concern. Now let's move forward and see what this article is talking about. The Teesta 3 dam, it is a dam, okay, on the Teesta river in Sikkim. So this destroyed by a glacial lake outburst. That is, it is a sudden, flow or release of water by the breakage of the moraine dam or a glacier. What do you mean by moraine dam? This actually has a lot of sediments, okay, of rock, soil, etc. When that suddenly breaks, you have the glacial lake outburst, floods, okay. And this happened 14 months ago, and this dam is set for reconstruction with enhanced safety as well as your design features, and this is awaiting the approval by the Environment Ministry Expert Committee. So moving forward, let us actually understand what is this Teesta river. So location is that it originates in the Tibetan plateau and it flows through the Indian states of Sikkim, West Bengal before merging into the Bay of Bengal. The length is actually around 315 kilometers and covers a significant part of Sikkim with tributaries originating from the glacial regions. That is why it is prone to this GLOFs, and also it is of a great hydropower potential. That is why it actually has a lot of dams being constructed there, which includes the Teesta 3 dam also. So here this is very, very important. See, if you see the basic streams over here, you can see the various streams, and this is actually the major river, okay, and this is actually the watershed area of the Teesta river. Now moving forward, we will actually see Teesta 3 dam collapse. This is actually Sikkim's one of the largest hydropower project. This was destroyed by the glacial lake outburst. This is nothing but sudden release of water from a glacial lake, typically caused by the failure of an ice or a moraine dam, I actually told you. And this actually caused a lot of catastrophic downstream flooding. Lot of water got released suddenly at a stretch, okay. So this caused a lot of downstream flooding, and there was flood severity because the flood was actually too much, so that this particular dam was not able to withstand the water, debris and the high volume of mud and muck, okay. So this is what it is. And there was failure of spillway because the spillway capacity was around 7,000 cubic meters per second. This was insufficient in order to manage the magnitude of the flood that actually caused a year back. And also there was inability, that was there was a failure in the opening of the gates, okay, which further exacerbated the flooding. And also the old dam had a mixed rock concrete structure. So that is why now they are totally, they want to construct the dam with entirely concrete, okay. Do you understand? Now let's move forward and actually see the collapse. So dam disaster in India, total number of dam disasters have actually been 36, and state wise, if you see, the largest have been in Rajasthan. And also the large dams in India, see, dam safety once was actually asked in your mains examination, again very, very important. So if you see, large dams in India operational are 5,254 and under construction are around 450. And the states wise breakup is top 5 states. First one, maximum number of dams around 2,354 dams in Maharashtra, followed by Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh and Karnataka. And if you see the global scene over here, China has the number of large dams, that is around 24,000 dams it has. And then you have USA around 9,261, that is actually followed by India, Japan and finally Brazil, okay. Do you understand? Now let us actually move forward and see the new design. So the material is actually going to be concrete, a lot, as I told you, when compared to the older structure which was a mix. Next, the spillway capacity, earlier it was 7,000, now it is actually upgraded to around 19,946 cumecs, nearly 3 times that of the previous capacity. And then it is also installed with an early warning system, because in case of potential floods, it's going to give early alerts. and this allows the time for the personnel in order to evacuate the people as well as manage the gates as well. That is engineering. Next one, the control room relocation is actually done. That is, this will be shifted to a higher elevation in order to protect the personnel from flooding in the event of a breach. Do you understand? Now, let us quickly solve a mains practice question, that is, do you think the implementation of UCC will strengthen the integration of the nation? Critically analyze with historical and contemporary perspectives. Here, the approach answer, again, we'll actually start with what is the main objective or mandate of the Uniform Civil Code. That is, it actually aims to standardize the personal laws such as marriage, inheritance, adoption, maintenance, etc., promoting equality and national integration, even gender justice, right? And also in the body we'll be discussing about what has been the historical perspective. That is, earlier if you see, it has actually been advocated by the late Prime Minister, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, and the UCC was delayed due to the religious diversity as well as the political consideration and the chaos immediately after the independence. And if you see contemporary perspective, there are proponents that argue that it promotes gender equality, there's a uniformity, whereas on the other side, the critics actually talk about infringement about the religious freedoms as enshrined in fundamental rights and cultural diversity. Also, there are different other challenges like the cultural sensitivities, there are a lot of political resistance and also gender specific concerns. This complicate the implementation of the UCC is what we'll discuss in the body. And finally, in the conclusion, we need to say UCC is actually required. At the same time, it should actually not hamper the secular framework of India and also must balance religious freedom and cultural diversity, ensuring at the same time there is inclusivity and respect to all the traditions. Okay, so this is what is your mains approach answer. And now moving forward, let's quickly solve these set of questions that would have been discussed yesterday by Yogesh sir. So here, with reference to the next generation launch vehicle, that is the NGLV being developed by the ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, consider the following. So it is designed to be cost efficient, powerful and reusable. Yes, of course. It is expected to replace the PSLV and the GSLV series for satellite launches. Yes, this is also correct. It's supposed to replace these. The primary focus is to support the human space flight missions exclusively. No, it is also to focus on satellite launches and other missions. Okay. So this is wrong. So exclusively it's not human flight. Next one, the development aligns with India's ambitions for deep space exploration. Yes, this is correct. So since 1, 2 and 4 are correct, here your answer will be option B. Now moving forward, the next question. It is on with reference to CPA, that is chronic pulmonary aspergillosis. Consider the following. It is the infection of the lungs caused by mycobacterium, both found indoors and outdoors. This is wrong. It is not caused by mycobacterium. Actually, this aspergillosis, it is found, or you can say it can very quickly infect people who have tuberculosis. Okay, and tuberculosis is caused by mycobacterium tuberculosis, but this aspergillosis is caused by aspergillosis, which is nothing but it is a mold. Mold is nothing but it is a fungi. Okay, so this is caused by fungi, so this is wrong. CPA is not contagious and cannot be spread from one person to other. Yes, this is correct. So since only statement 2 is correct, again your answer will be option B. Moving forward, the next question is, which of the following statements regarding the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crime of Genocide 1948 is or are correct? First statement, it was the first international treaty to codify genocide as a crime. Yes, it was. It obligates states to prevent and punish the acts of genocide. Yes, it is. Next one, states are required to cooperate with the international tribunals. Yes, like the ICC, in order to prosecute the offenders. Okay, so this is actually correct. So since all the three statements are correct, 1, 2 and 3, the option will be D. So the correct answer will be option D. Now moving forward, these are few of the questions that are based on today's discussion. One is with respect to that of the Waqf properties, and once the property is designated, it can be revoked or not, and what is the definition of Waqf as per the Waqf Act of 1995. The next question is about the Teesta River, which is actually correct or not, where it actually originates, what is the drainage basin, what are the states it actually covers, all this is asked. And the next question is Guillain Barre Syndrome, sometimes mentioned in news. It refers to a viral infection, it is an autoimmune disease or a bacterial infection, and it actually causes, or it's a condition that leads to memory loss and cognitive decline. So these answers, or these MCQs shall actually be solved by you by visiting our website, the link of which is actually provided in the comment section below. And with this, we've actually come to the end of our daily news analysis. So for more such interesting as well as informative live sessions, please do like, share and subscribe to Narayana IAS Academy YouTube channel. So take care. We'll meet you soon.